how do you describe your sound to people who have not seen you before or heard you before?
Uh, the best way I could describe our sound is probably, somewhere in between the alternative genre and the rock genre. We do a lot of different things. We don't really like to be pigeonholed into that's one exact sound. We just kind of let whatever feelings or emotions we have going on in the writing process, we just kind of let that flow out, and a few different things have come out. We have one song that sounds a little R&B and Can You Feel, but we have another song All the Way, which is more of like a big rock type anthem. So we kind of
Hmm.
bounce around, just try to have as much fun with it as we can and really just kind of let our hearts out there.
Okay, so it's just you just guys just go with, all right, does this feel good? And
Yeah,
not so
that's
much, is this our quote sound?
yeah. The biggest thing was as far as what we feel is we really just want to use music to try to uplift as much as possible, and when we write that, we kind of keep that in mind. So we have a really positive attitude towards music because the way we feel about music. So um, that's kind of how we just roll with it and just try to roll into that songwriting process. And yeah, like you said, does this feel good? Does this feel right? And we just try to be as honest as we can.
Hmm. And so, I mean, because there is definitely that theme, that vibe to all of the stuff you guys do. There's always just that uplift. Even addressing things that are difficult, there's always that kind of positive
Yeah,
slant to it
yeah.
or glimmer of hope. Um, so I found it interesting. So you came at it though with, all right, we're always going to take this tack because you know, the other songwriters I've spoken to, sometimes you just go with what the mood is, and sometimes it's that darker mood that produces the best lyrics or song
Yeah.
ideas. So is this, all right, I'm consciously going to try and make everything positive, or that's how you naturally filter things?
I think it's more of a natural filter. I do think, as far as that goes, it just kind of comes out that way. All five of us, all the guys in the band, we really like all of us have kind of been through some stuff, and like I've dealt with my own personal demons. We've all dealt with it, and you know, when it sometimes you're right when you're writing songs that dark, it's so easy to just fall into that dark mood, and because a lot of times it's so powerful, and it is kind of something we take that we wanted to push into a positive light. Like,
Mm.
yes, we have been in a dark spot, and there is a way out of it. Um, so we kind of want to put that focus on there. We're not afraid of necessarily writing something dark,
Yeah.
but we just kind of have this natural positive thing where we said, okay, well, this is dark. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is some kind of glimmer of hope, as you said, and there is a way to kind of get people to flow out of that.
Yeah. And I think that's cool. Number one, just because you're taking the road less traveled,
Mhm.
as far as that goes. And then two, given the insanity that the world is in right now. People need
Yeah.
this kind of thing more than ever. So, but that also begs the question, you personally, how are you coping, dealing with all of this, the quarantine, the COVID-19, et cetera, as a musician?
Yeah, I mean, the lack of live shows is a little weird. We get a little antsy. I feel like, and feels like, oh, I feel like I should be on a stage somewhere. Like, it almost feels like this. It's this foreign thought of, okay, I'm home. And my personal life, yes, I am kind of a homebody. I am an introvert very much, and I want to stay in, and I don't mind, that it's the, we were so used to playing 3 to 4 shows a week, and now it's like nothing. So it is a different, it's a different vibe. It's a different feeling altogether. All five of us, though, we're always on group chats. We're always, talking to each other every day. As far as the songwriting goes, we're kind of using the songwriting as kind of like our healing, so to speak. So we all kind of have our little mobile setups, and we're still able to kind of produce and write in our own ways and kind of collaborate and put things together. We're
Hmm.
pretty excited about some of the stuff we have been writing. Um, so it's, the process doesn't stop. we can't stop on these things. I mean, yes, it's horrible like, with everything going on, but we got to just keep things flowing, keep things moving, and try to write as much, as many hits as we can, right?
Yeah. Well, so that makes me curious because if you watch any of if you've seen you guys live, if you watch any live footage you guys have, you are a very active front man, just in the sense of moving, in the sense of interacting with the crowd, in the sense of trying to uplift the crowd. And so, it's interesting because it doesn't scream introvert
Yeah.
offhand. And, so I'm wondering, is it just you're a completely different person on stage, or, are these, or is it, a little bit more complicated than that?
I would probably say it's more complicated. Yeah, it's funny, when I once I get I'm one of those, introvert who until you get them out in public and then I'm like, okay, cool, we're having fun. We're out. I'm out of the house. Okay, you got
Yeah.
me. And that's kind of how I am with the stage, like we'll be at our shows or we'll be doing something and I'll be kind of sitting in the back until somebody pulls me out and then you can't get me back into the green room until a minute before we go on because I get carried away. But no, it's just something about once the lights go on, once the music starts, it's I kind of I let the music kind of just grab hold of me and I just let it rip, and just I understand that that's where I almost understand like this is where my songs are, this is what my songs mean, and I want to make sure that I portray that as best as I can.
Hmm.
Um, to the audience, and we want to give them that uplifting feeling. We want to, show them that yes, and the people who have, some of our fans, some of them gotten to know me, and family members, they all know how kind of private I can be and how introverted I can be, and kind of show them, yes, it's okay to kind of let loose. It's okay to open up. It's okay to, bring in this type of energy.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay, so it's definitely genuine. It's not like, all right, I'm going to put on an act or it's showtime. It sounds more like you're swept up in the moment just as much as the audience is.
Yeah, yeah. I like to keep it that way. I like to keep it honest.
Hmm.
I like to keep that, like you said, being swept up in the moment. I want the music to, I want it to do it to me just as much as it does to the audience, and it does do it for me.
Yeah.
That natural rush.
And then, they're talking about, just expectations or what you think when you first see a band. Uh, I did not expect your voice to be able to go as high as it does.
Yeah.
It's got quite the range, and so first off, I'm wondering, has that always been there, or was that something that you worked on, vocally trained for?
So I've actually had very little vocal training. It's something I've kind of worked on more recently. Uh, to be honest, I actually did never had even I haven't sang a note in public until I was 21 or 22.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, yeah, it's kind of a funny story. Like growing up, both my parents were singers, and well, not professionally, but they sang, and uh, I always grew up riding in the car listening to three-part harmony, being involved in that. I kind of had this weird thing where I assumed everybody could sing. I literally thought everybody could sing growing up until I was a teenager. And then, when I hit, high school, I was a guitarist first. That was my first instrument. And I never really thought like, oh, I'm going to sing. I never really focused on singing or anything like that. Never really tried it. Uh,
Mm.
and then, like I was saying, playing a lot of guitar, doing things like that. Played in some bands and some like metal bands and stuff like that. And when I was in my 20s, we were at this karaoke bar with some friends, and I'm like, nah, I'm not, no, I'm not getting up there. No, you're not going to do it. After a few liquid courages,
Yeah.
got up there and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to sing Journey, Don't Stop Believing. And then,
Oh.
my mom, my dad, everybody's there, and they're just like, kind of jaw dropped, kind of went, what? What just happened?
Right.
And I'm like, because I think by that point I realized that, no, not everybody can do this. I can, and that's really that's when music really for me kind of took off. Like I
Mm.
was always obsessed with music throughout, my younger years and in high school, played in high school band, learning all these instruments but really I think once I opened up and started singing is when everything kind of changed for me. And
Hmm.
as far as the range, I think it's kind of always been there. I think more recently I've kind of grasped, exactly where the limitations are and focusing on working with some vocal coaches on getting better and, learning just breathing techniques and controlling
Hmm.
that, especially in a live show where things kind of start to get really crazy and, I'm jumping around and, controlling my breath so that I can hit some of those notes.
Yeah. No, I mean, and it's, because everyone, especially trying to sing along to Steve Perry, you're in the car and you think you're killing it, and then but if God forbid you see a recording of yourself, you realize, wow, I was way off base, and so I could see, scenario where suddenly people like, oh my God, no, he actually does hit all of those
Yeah.
notes. Um, and then from that point on, I mean, was it just, okay, I have to do this? Was it an immediate sense of I can do this? Or, it seems like a big leap. I'm wondering how one makes the step to, oh, I'm not singing at all, to, yeah, I'm comfortable enough to front a band.
So I think that whole transition took about, I want to say it took about 3 years. It went from, after I left school in music, I kind of stopped playing almost altogether. Um, Stopped writing, stopped doing everything. I would say it was about a year and a half, 2 years this whole time period happened, and I, uh, I knew that I could do it after that whole experience, singing the Journey song and all that. Like everybody kind of understood that I could do it, but I hadn't really taken it seriously yet. And I got into a really bad uh, ATV accident,
Oh,
and it kind of just, I don't know if I don't try to relate it exactly to that moment, but it was pretty bad. I was very lucky,
hmm.
and I just remember being injured, laying in bed, and I picked up a notebook and I started writing, and I just started writing, and then I realized I'm like I'm writing songs like this, okay, and then I had a guitar in the room with me, and I started playing guitar again, and I had been kind of stuck, idle for a few months, and I had written 5 or 6 songs, and I'm like, here I am, and I started playing, and then that kind of developed into I just went to an open mic one night and I started playing those songs after I was feeling better, after I was able to get up and moving around, and I started playing the songs, and started meeting a lot of friends that I have to this day. I met my wife at this open mic.
Oh,
It was kind of this family community, and they really really encouraged me to continue to play, and they believed in me enough to, yes, you should do this, you should pursue this, you should keep going. And that was right around the time that our drummer Austin, him and I went to high school together, and we've been
hmm.
friends since high school. And he's like, "Hey, you're awesome, man. Like, we need to start this band. Like, we should do this." And he kind of really instilled that that drive into me. Like, yeah, I believe that we can make something here. We can really really create something special.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's kind of the story of how I kind of became into as a singer into doing this and how the band kind of started. So it's really kind of it's a whirlwind when I look back on it now, and I it's crazy because of all the weird things that have happened throughout it, but it's pretty amazing to play music with the five guys that the five of us together, and just
Yeah.
that whole experience.
What that makes me wonder. So, as a band, what is your songwriting process? Do you guys have a typical songwriting process?
Yeah, somewhat typical. We usually like to come up with a boatload of just ideas and riffs. We'll just start on a laptop, start something even on GarageBand, or just something simple just to get an idea started and flowing. We'll kind of meet up, we'll collaborate all those ideas together. We'll kind of throw them in a basket, listen to them. We kind of give it like our own little rating system. We write it, do that. Okay, we have that now. Then we start moving into the production process and we start kind of structuring things together. I'll start working on melodies and lyrics. Uh, the other guys will get involved in the lyrics as well, and everybody kind of just gets involved, and it's kind of like it's very organic, but it is structured at the same time. Like we do kind of have a process of we start A is the idea, and then Z would be like the lyric implementation of everything.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
we do have like a whole thing built, like our little structure, and um, fortunately for us, with the lockdown going on and all this stuff, like we are kind of able to still kind of work that process because we all have our own little individual responsibilities for each song.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. So yeah, so it probably and thanks to technology and now being able to, send
Yeah,
files back and forth and things of that
definitely.
nature, it's, and is it still that same kind of vibe? Because sometimes, different bands, they write better when they're actually in person and working through
Definitely. No,
ideas.
I would agree. I think it's hugely important for bands to write in person together because you really want to make sure that, especially when you have a band as big as 5 people, you got to have all 5 people believing in that message and in that song. And
Mm,
sometimes uh, one member might be just like a little passive about, like I don't want to, everybody else likes it and I don't want to say anything. And sometimes it's important to read that body language and say, guys, I don't really like it, and you know, can we adjust this a little bit? Can we tweak it? Like I have an idea for it as well. Can we try this? And um, I do think that's true. I think everybody would write together if we could always be together. We do a lot of you know voice video calls and stuff like that too to talk about stuff. We usually meet up at least once a week to try to you know we talk more often than that. We talk every day in our
mm,
group chat, but um, it as a singer and writing a lot of the melodies, it does make it a little more difficult. It's more time consuming, I think. It's not so much
mm,
more difficult, but it's more time consuming because I record something here at home. I send it over to the guys. Like, I got this idea. What do you think? I don't really care for it, but I do like this one idea. Okay, let me come back to you with another idea. And just with schedules getting in the way, different things happening. Like, I gotta create a file. I gotta send it over. They gotta listen to it. And they gotta come back.
mm.
So just the whole process itself is a little strange, but we've seemed to have kind of streamlined it. We figured it out at this to make it work for us right now.
Yeah.
Um, but like you said, there are some challenges there, but we just got we'll just figure out more ways to get through it.
Mm. And then I'm wondering what it's like that, because you're in the unique position of having a song really evolve. I'm talking about the song "Strong." Uh,
Yeah.
you know, be used in multiple ways, and almost take on a life of its own. First being adopted by the Vegas Knights, the hockey team, and
Hmm.
set to this rather intense hockey footage, and then the latest incarnation is the stripped version, which you guys just released as a video, and so. First off, tell me about the creation of the stripped version of Strong.
Sure. Well, what I'll do is I'll kind of go all the way back to the beginning real quick
Oh
with
yeah,
Strong,
okay.
and I'll kind of explain how this whole thing happened. Back when October 1 happened, us here in Vegas and like it was so gut wrenching. The whole next day, I think everybody was kind of on the verge of tears, and we had a writing session scheduled like the next week,
Hmm.
and we were in the room and we're just talking, and like we just kind of let the whole thing explode out onto the page of just like what we were feeling because we just had so much built up sadness and anger and but at the same time we really really watched how this city really in a beautiful way came together. I've never I grew up here. I've always loved Las Vegas, but I've never seen the community come together the way it did then. And that was kind of the inspiration of Strong, and it goes back to kind of our writing style in general. We never really focus on the negative, we focus on the positive. Yes,
Hmm.
negative situations happen, but there is a positive thing that comes through that. And the way that this city came together, the way that it rallied, the way that it helped each other was a beautiful thing. And that's what inspired us to write it in the first place, was the growth from that. Um, Now, to get to the stripped version, we in this whole thing going on, just driving down the strip and seeing it completely empty is kind of just this very, eerie feeling. And we talked about it, and I said, guys, this reminds me of the feeling of Strong. Like, we should do Strong. And we all kind of agreed. I don't even remember exactly whose idea it was that brought that up and said, "Hey guys, we should do Strong. This is what I'm feeling." And we just kind of, at first, I played it on acoustic guitar, like just a quick short video, and we threw it up on social media. And I played just the pre-chorus and chorus of it. And you know, one of the guys who helped us produce that song comes back and he goes, "Dude, that was really, really powerful." He's like, just you with the guitar like that, like you should look into something like that. And then we had John put together the piano track, and we did this song. And after listening to it, it's one of those things that there's a way to there's a way to kind of channel that positivity even in a stripped version of a song and even in a somber mood. And we wanted to make sure that comes through, because we know how difficult this whole thing is. Everybody's dealing with it, and we kind of wanted to showcase that the strip's empty, and yes, everybody's gone right now, but we're gonna rally through it, and we kind of wanted to put Strong in that showcasing spot of really kind of sending that same message.
Mm-hmm. And then it also makes me wonder, it's rare for a band to have two really powerful versions of the same song.
Mm-hmm.
When, down the line, concerts resume, what version do you think you'll perform during your live shows?
Um, that's a good question. I think that there would be a way to kind of incorporate both versions, personally. I think that you could, I mean, who knows? I mean, we may do one or the other. I personally think that we could do the first half of the song in the somber mood, and by the end of the song, we could have the thing completely full volume, you know, going 100 miles an hour.
Hmm.
So I do think that that's something that we could pull off. We've actually done it with one of our other songs before. But with Strong, just we think that Strong is just such a powerful song that we could absolutely do it that way with.
Yeah. And then, for me, for a lot of people, music is, what they cling to, and a form of catharsis and a way of, expressing the unexpressible. Um, with that in mind, how much of what you guys did was for Strong was for listeners, and how much of it was for your own processing of everything?
Um, I think it was a little bit of I think it was probably 50-50. Um, a lot of it was just our own, like you said, is our own catharsis of getting our emotions out on the page of how we were feeling at that moment. And but after we got about, I would say maybe three-quarters of the way done with the song, I really started noticing, like, you know, people can rally behind this. This is something we should start. We kind of went back and we edited a few things, and really kind of made it about the community just as much as ourselves.
Hmm. And it also makes me wonder, because for the longest time, Vegas was just a destination. It's only been recently that bands have been from Vegas, and it's been this place where every band comes through and every band plays. But up until recently, it was rare to find a band from Vegas. So I'm curious, what advantages as a musician do you think there were to growing up in Vegas?
I think just the exposure to it. I think that's the biggest advantage is you see the exposure to it all the time. You see some of the best in the world. You just walking around all the time. So you kind of understand from a young age uh, where what the high level is of each thing, and more so about the presence, the stage presence itself. an understanding of, these are performers that are people know nothing about, just grabbing complete strangers and getting them to start dancing.
Mhm.
So I think that's kind of the biggest thing is you grab that, you know, right away. You just kind of know where the high level is. You know where that that elite performance is.
Mhm. Okay, so in that, yeah, I can see where in that sense it's like, uh, you have access to all this, um, I don't know, performing education, I guess you could say, right in your
Yeah,
backyard.
yeah, definitely, for sure.
Well, that makes me wonder what or who influenced your performance. Again, you're very physical on stage. There's, running, there's jumping, there's very much connecting with the crowd.
Yeah,
You're not like one of those guys that just stares at his shoes and, sits off in the corner.
yeah.
Um, what influenced, how you developed your stage personality?
Um, so I think that is, just as much of an evolution as anything else. Growing up and in high school, I was always in like really heavy metal bands and stuff like that, and it's most of the music that I was listening to at the time. So I was that's kind of where I think the whole all over the place thing started. Running around both sides of the stage, really trying to hype up crowds and stuff like that. And I think more recently, especially with our current genre, I think it can look to uh, guys like Patrick and Patrick Stump, Pete Wentz from Fall Out Boy for sure. And Ryan Tedder of One Republic is another one who would probably, pretty similar, as far as moving around on stage. You
Hmm.
would you would probably find. And after that, I mean, maybe a little bit of Brandon Flowers as well. But I think after that, yeah, I just kind of let things move, and I just kind of at this point, I'm just kind of letting things flow and letting things move around and kind of creating my own wake at this point.
And then to shift gears a little bit, so your song "All the Way" was played at this year's Super Bowl,
Yeah,
and I know you can't predict what's going to happen to a song, when you're writing it, like, oh, this is going to, take this trajectory. But I was, it has like so much energy and power behind it. I'm wondering, did you create it with the idea of this would work in a really big setting?
yeah, I think. I mean, we do keep that kind of stuff in mind. We are conscious of some of that stuff when we write. Sometimes, a lot of bands out there don't even really play a lot of live shows. They just go for the syncs, for stuff like that. So we we obviously kind of tote that line between where we obviously are a live band. We want to make sure the live show is great, and we take pride in that. But yeah, we think about the sync opportunities a lot when we do write, and that's just being us being honest with ourselves. But like we just try to keep the honesty on the page. And when we wrote All the Way, it was we were kind of getting we were kind of in a rut actually when we wrote that
Oh,
song, and it was just like we were a little angry, and I
oh.
think you can kind of hear a little bit of the anger in that song. And it's kind of like we felt like we had been missing so many opportunities back to back to back for like a year or two, and when we wrote All the Way, we're like, this is how we feel about the last couple of years, and we're gonna keep pushing, we're gonna keep moving, and kind of going back to the same thing that we always as a band always talk about is like, let's shift the positive light on everything negative that's just happened.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's really what All the Way is all about, is kind of just pushing everything behind you. I'm going all the way. I'm in it now. Like you can't stop us. Like this is where we're headed. For it to be played at the Super Bowl, I mean, it was awesome. So and the streams just keep coming up on Spotify. So I mean, people are really resonating with it. We're super proud of it. We're so excited about that. And yeah, it's hard to even express what that means to us. And
Hmm.
but yeah, I think keeping stuff like that in mind when you're writing is definitely something that we do.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe not at that. We don't think of, oh, Super Bowl. Like I want to write a song for the Super Bowl. It may
Yeah.
not be that, but we think of, I want to write a song that's high energy, and I want to write a song that yes, I could see a sports team or, a company use it in their ad. Like I want it to, because the truth is those companies and those sports teams are playing songs that are good. They're playing songs that people like. They're playing songs that get people hyped up. And yeah, I want to write that song. So I think that's
Yeah.
probably the best way to describe it.
Right, right. And I mean, and this is not to knock ballads or anything, of the more mellow variety, but it takes a certain kind of energy to grab a stadium's attention, or to
Yeah,
fill up that
for
big a
sure.
space with that much energy already going into it. And so, I think that's the amazing thing to me is that, you forget that it's just a couple of guys who were, in their rehearsal space, kind of
Yeah,
putting this together, and then suddenly it's this thing that's taken on a life of its own. Um,
right.
and then another one with a lot of power is haha. If I'm pronouncing that
Yeah,
right, is that okay?
yeah. Haha.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
um, and there's a lot going on musically in that song. There's a lot happening at the same time. What I'm wondering is, how is it that you guys are able to walk the line where you have everyone contributing and putting forth a lot of sound, but no one's really stepping on each other? It seemed like it would be easy for it to just become noise, and yet you guys never cross that line. And I'm wondering what's the key to doing that.
Um, I honestly would attribute that to us just playing on the strip for a few years together.
Hmm.
We had been playing on the strip for I think 2 or 3 years together by the time we had come around to write Haha. And when we wrote Haha, it was just kind of this. I mean, it flew out onto the page in I would say 3 or 4 hours, which in songwriting is like no time at all.
Hmm.
That's like a blink of an eye, and it was done.
Yeah.
I mean, almost the whole thing, although almost the whole structure, melody, and lyrics were done in that time. And uh, yeah, it's just one of those things where we've kind of learned to kind of balance, like, okay, well, how can we showcase every single piece without, like you said, without stepping on it? And I think it just kind of takes, I think it takes time. Sometimes you can catch lightning in a bottle. Sometimes you can get magic on a page like that. But I do think a lot of that is just attributed to us playing together for so long, playing together, understanding. Just as like when we play a live show, I could be looking at the audience, but I know where every single person is. I don't have to turn around to know where they are. I just kind of almost know what they're doing at that specific moment.
Hmm.
And I know, like, okay, well, if I take 2 steps to the left, I know I'm not going to run into Ziggy because he's back a little further or he's up a little further. I know where they all are, and it's not just a peripheral vision thing. It's kind of this vibe where like we kind of feel each other. We know where we are. We just it's one organism on stage, kind of knowing each individual part of what's happening.
Yeah.
Same thing can be applied to songwriting. So when you're writing songs, when you're producing these songs, there's a way to give all of that ear candy, so to speak, that there's a really cool guitar lick that kind of just it sticks through. You don't hear it maybe the first time you listen to the song, but you go listen to it again, you're like, oh man, that's really cool. And there's all these cool things going on, but again, nothing really stepping on it, anybody else, or nothing really, bleeding or drowning anything out, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, that covers all of my questions. Is there anything we didn't address that you want to talk about?
The only thing I really wanted to talk about was again with the strong strip video is just
Mhm.
how again kind of to just go back to that point how amazing it really was to hear from all the first responders, all our hospital workers, nurses, doctors, police officers, all the photos that they sent us. It was really really incredible, and it really kind of made us really believe in our city, and we're so proud of it. It's a truly amazing thing because I mean, right now they're the real heroes, and wanted to really just kind of give almost like a shout out and kind of just really talk about how amazing that whole experience was. Like we never expected to get the level of photos and videos from fans, family, and first responders that we did. We weren't we wanted to include a couple pictures at first in the video, and then when we posted about, hey, send us stuff, a flood of stuff just came in, and we were overwhelmed emotionally by how powerful that was. So I just wanted to just to talk about that a little bit, and how like I said, how truly incredible that really was for us to experience, and we can't thank them enough.
Yeah, and I think that's something. Not many people think of Vegas as a town or someone's hometown,
Yeah,
because of because of the strip, and its primary business, so to speak.
right.
But more and more, as a bands like you guys emerge from there, and there are more and more people who have genuinely grown up there. It is, you hear more and more about, no, it's an actual town. It's an actual community. Um, and are you okay with the fact that sometimes that gets lost because of, the primary driving force with Vegas, or is it just?
Um, no, I'm okay with it. I mean,
Mhm.
the people who are here, we know. I mean, I don't think anybody truly gets offended by it because we kind of understand what the nature of the game, so to speak. And
Yeah.
I mean, that is what it is. I just know that I'm really proud of it, and we're proud to be here. Like, we've always been, super, proud to. We're proud of our roots. We're proud of where we come from, and that's kind of that's where the name of our band even comes from.